Hi again. This is Dr. Aruna Tummala, owner of Trinergy Health, Holistic Psychiatry Clinic in New Berlin, Wisconsin. And today I have the pleasure of speaking with Dr. Judy Van De Water. Dr. Van De Water is actually going to change the world. Yes,
Wow.
yes. I mean, I feel so excited. You know how excited I was when you spoke yesterday, right?
I appreciated that.
The reason I say that is because Dr. Van De Water is actually an immunologist who started her career studying autoimmune diseases, but has now devoted her life's work, to studying autism and neurodevelopmental diseases. And I will let you take on from here, but I do think that the research that Dr. Van De Water is conducting right now and the insights that we are gaining, and these are primarily preclinical studies with some clinical studies as well, this is going to be of huge, huge importance for stemming, if not reversing, the epidemic or pandemic of autism and neurodevelopmental disorders that we are seeing. So Dr. Van De Water, I'll let you explain your research.
So our research really is basically looking at what happens during pregnancy in women that may predispose them to having a child with autism. That includes inflammation in the mom. It includes what we discovered in my laboratory, which is maternal auto-antibodies, or antibodies to self-proteins that are present during pregnancy and impact how the brain develops.
So auto-antibodies that the mom is making actually cross the placental barrier and can impact the neurodevelopment of the baby for the worse. So we are seeing that.
Correct. Yeah. So we have done several clinical studies now. We've also created 2 animal models that replicate what we see in humans, and it's showing us that they are both a very good biomarker for autism risk because they're very specific to autism. They only occur in about 20% of cases, so it's not all of autism, but it's what we call a very defined phenotype, or subgroup of women who have these autoantibodies go on to have a child with autism.
But even 20%, that's a big number. I mean, if we were to reverse that 20% of children from ever having any neurodevelopmental disorder, then I think that would not only enhance the life quality of that child and that family, but also reduce the burden that we experience as a society, economic burden, societal burden that goes along when we have more and more sick children in our society.
And I think an important aspect of that is that these are the most severe kids. When I'm talking about what we're looking at associated with these autoantibodies, these are the kids that are on the very far end of the spectrum, where they have very limited, if any, language, severe repetitive behavior. So even if we could reduce that autism phenotype to be higher function, better language, that would be an improvement.
Absolutely.
For those children.
So I've been a holistic psychiatrist for a long time now. I started this journey in 2013, and I've been looking at the inflammation basis for mental illness, including autism. And as part of my own learning and research, I was very well aware of maternal immune activation, some predisposing factors and conditions in dads as well that can increase the risk of autism. But I've never heard of the maternal autoantibodies. How long have you been doing it? Only for the last year or 2?
Oh no, God, this has been a very long journey. So we began our work, I'm at the University of California at Davis, and we had a Center for Children's Environmental Health there. So this work came out of an NIH project, and that was, I think, we began the project in around 2001. So it's been a very long journey. I think our first paper on this came out in 2007. But as we've gone on, this has become, we've refined everything. We've gained knowledge along the way. We've created better models so that we could understand what's going on in the brain when these antibodies are present.
It really is surprising that you've been doing this work for so long, and people, I'm, as a holistic psychiatrist, I'm specifically keying in words like inflammation, autism, and things like that, and I have not come across your work. It needs to be more widespread. More people need to know about it. And I only learned of your work because I chose to come to the MAPS conference, which is about pediatric special needs. But I think, you've actually talked about this overarching hypothesis that autism and schizophrenia and other mental illnesses in between are probably manifestations of the same root problems. And there are other people that have talked about that too, and sometimes I do see that. So your work may have relevance to actually much larger than just autism and neurodevelopmental diseases. I would love for you to speak in mainstream organizations like, American Pediatrics Association conferences, American Psychiatry Association conferences, and of course the media should also be doing more reporting about this work because, and as we have talked, as a clinician for me, you're showing us that, hey, this could be wrong. But for me, in my practice, I want to take that and say, okay, this is a problem. How do we reverse it or how do we prevent it? Right? Have you had any insights on that in that regard?
And I think, so thank you. That's very kind of you to say that. And we are working toward, getting sort of a more, I'm a basic scientist, so we're working at kind of getting the word out more into the medical community, which we hope will help us even further by kind of looking at this in their practices. But I think, we do know that there's an association with maternal obesity and metabolic syndrome during pregnancy and gestational diabetes that are associated with these antibodies. And those are modifiable risk factors.
Absolutely.
We've got a study ongoing now that we are addressing that even more in depth than we did in the very first study that we published on it. But I think, what you were talking about, we call gestational or pregnancy sort of immune dysregulation.
Yes.
And we use that word dysregulation, meaning things are just not in balance. And I think if we could come up with a plan to better regulate, I think we would ameliorate quite a few of the neurodevelopmental disorders.
I have to second that, and in my videos earlier, I have actually talked about it, that it's any disease for that matter, not only mental illness, but almost all diseases have the three root causes. This is from my perspective. It's bad diet, trauma, and toxins, which cause leaky gut, inflammation in the gut, and then systemic inflammation. And each person's phenotypic presentation or the clinical presentation really depends on which organ system is manifesting the inflammation over others. Ultimately, I think many organ systems, like in autism, we see it's not just the brain and the mind, but it's also the GI system and the immune system. We see different organ systems manifesting. But if it is as simple as controlling diabetes in young women and young men too, why would we not do that? And yes, this information shouldn't reach medical organizations, but as we see in the neurodevelopmental world, most of the pushing the boundaries has happened from families, mothers especially.
Absolutely.
Right?
They are key drivers in
of
almost
innovation.
everything we do.
Yes, yeah. So I would say whoever's watching this video, please share this. I as a clinician, I can tell you that Dr. Van De Water's research is actually very, very important to further our understanding of autism and neurodevelopmental disorders beyond the unproven hypothesis of chemical imbalance. There is no chemical imbalance for any psychiatric disease. Instead, it's usually inflammation processes that are contributing to it, nutritional deficiencies, some genetics-related issues, epigenetics, which can be addressed.
Absolutely. That's very environmentally controlled.
Yes. So please share this far and wide. You never know who should be listening to this. All right. Thank you so much.
My
I really
pleasure.
enjoyed talking
My
to you.
pleasure. Thank you.